Lions Bay, British Columbia, is a quiet coastal village defined by its views of the Howe Sound. But in May 2026, the community's sense of peace was interrupted when a local resident vanished, triggering a search that would eventually lead to a homicide investigation. The missing man was Stewart McLean, a 45-year-old actor known as Stu to his peers. He was a professional who had spent over a decade building a reputation for reliability within Vancouver's busy film and television industry. McLean was a familiar face on screen, with 36 credits to his name. His most recent work included a role in Netflix's Virgin River, following previous guest appearances in the Arrowverse series Arrow and the long-running drama Supernatural. When a man with such a recognizable public profile disappears from his own home, the impact is felt immediately. For Lions Bay, the event transformed the familiar landscape into a site of active police cordons. As the search for McLean made headlines, a wave of digital misinformation began to complicate the story, as social media users struggled to separate the actor from another famous Canadian with the same name. Many online posts mistakenly linked the disappearance to Stewart McLean, the celebrated storyteller and host of CBC Radio's The Vinyl Cafe. However, that Stewart McLean passed away in 2017 at the age of 68. The current investigation involves the 45-year-old actor who was last seen alive in May 2026. Correcting this confusion is necessary to keep the public's attention on the details of the active 2026 case and the search for information regarding the actor's final movements. The timeline begins on Friday, May 15, 2026, when McLean was last seen at his home in Lions Bay. After 3 days with no contact, authorities were alerted. On Monday, May 18th, the Squamish RCMP officially launched a missing persons investigation. The search area presented significant challenges for recovery teams. Lions Bay is surrounded by steep, densely forested mountains and jagged shorelines along the sea-to-sky highway. Lions Bay's search and rescue led the effort, deploying ground crews to navigate the drainage basins and utilizing drones to inspect the cliffs and terrain that were inaccessible by foot. For the first 48 hours, crews focused their energy on the possibility of a hiking accident or a medical emergency in the backcountry, following standard protocols for a missing person in the wilderness. The nature of the search changed on May 20th, when search teams located what investigators described as suspicious evidence within the search zones. This discovery triggered a jurisdictional shift. The Squamish RCMP handed command to the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team, or IHIT. On Friday, May 22nd, IHIT confirmed the remains were Stewart McLean, calling in the BC Coroners Service for forensic processing. Confirming McLean's identity ended the rescue efforts and transformed the area near the tracks into a homicide crime scene. In the days following the discovery, a sense of unease has settled over Lions Bay. Residents who once viewed the local trails as safe are now confronted with an active murder investigation in their own backyard. To address local concerns, IHIT officials stated they believe this was an isolated incident, suggesting there is no ongoing risk to the general public in the Lions Bay area. Within the film industry, the news was met with a series of tributes. His agency, Lucas Talent Inc., described him as a dedicated professional who was endlessly funny and highly regarded by casting directors across Vancouver. While investigators continue the clinical work of collecting forensic evidence at the scene, the colleagues who worked with McLean are remembering the personality of a man who was a fixture on their sets for over a decade. The investigation is now focused on the sea-to-sky corridor. IHIT is asking anyone who drove through the area between May 15th and May 22nd to check their dashcam footage for anything unusual. Detectives are reviewing CCTV and digital records to reconstruct McLean's movements and identify anyone who may have interacted with him in the hours after he was last seen at his residence. Authorities are urging anyone with information, regardless of how minor it may seem, to contact the IHIT tip line or email the homicide team directly. With Stewart McLean's location finally confirmed, the focus of the police has shifted. Investigators are now tasked with determining a motive and identifying the person responsible for his death.